2, 1.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not so much into it. As I said, this is fat camp for me. Once I'm done, I'm out.
You know, you kind of dream sometimes, dad in life, just like what you want to be.
Mine was a plumber.
The last time I've got into a fight was like when
I am Bruno Miguel. You have insulted Bruno Miguel.
I'll pull out UFC gloves. Just start fucking.
That would be terrifying.
Bro, do you know what's more terrifying?
A gun.
True.
This week's episode of the Tait Talks podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
My favorite saying is that if you make it to 20 episodes of any podcast,
Yep.
you're automatically in the top 5% of all podcasters ever.
Really?
Yeah, because people just don't like stick with it, right? So there's just an abundance of like podcasts out there that have got 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes that fall away. So if you make it past 20, you're already in the top 5% of podcasters globally. So congratulations. What episode is this?
49. Yeah, so I point to the
What
camera.
an intro.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tait Talks podcast. This is episode 49.
Boom.
Today I am with Jarryd Goundrey. How are you, mate?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for inviting me into your home.
Thank you for
Lovely
coming.
to be here. I used to be in the military and then I got lost coming here. So that's...
Well, that's why you're out.
I'm not quite the not quite the urban navigator that I've...
even with technology.
Yeah.
We'll start with there because you were in the military, and that's why I have got you on.
Is that why you got me on?
Well, I wanted to because you're a very rare breed, I think.
Why? Why? What? You saying? I'm always interested about this because I have to live my life, but I also got to kind of do it publicly. That's kind of the
Yeah.
double-edged sword of being a comedian.
And a whore.
Yeah, you gotta whore yourself out on like social media, and you got to put yourself out there. And people always say to me like, "You're this," and I go, "What makes you think that?" So what do you think I am based off what I put out to the world?
Well, what I know you as a comic,
Sure.
but your backstory as a army man, I don't know if that's the terminology that
Yeah,
we're
soldier. I
allowed to
think
say.
is yeah.
That's the thing for me because obviously I've dabbled or do dabble in stand-up myself, but the background of going from such a different environment, and maybe it's not a different environment. I think it is. There's no guns in comedy.
When I started doing stand-up comedy, everybody I served in the military went, "Oh yeah,"
Okay.
and I didn't know that was a part of. You never quite know what you are until sometimes.
You're the fucking clown.
Yeah, apparently,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh yeah, we could see that you were never taking it seriously," and I was like, "Oh, I was trying. I just had a short attention span."
Thank you.
But I guess when I was in, I mean, there's lots of roles in the military. I mean, obviously you can blow things up and do stuff, but roles within each job, of guess like the archetype, and Australian soldiers come into this a lot. Like I guess there's like larrikin is a word you'll throw around and all that sort of stuff. But apparently, I was the guy that was always kind of cracking a joke or making a fun. I didn't get sad much in the military. Like I could sleep in a puddle and be pretty cheery about it. And
that says a lot.
yeah, so my fellow soldiers, when they found out I was doing this, past the point of just kind of fucking around with it,
Yeah.
they went, "Oh yeah, that makes heaps of sense."
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about myself.
Yeah, which is cool. But I think that's a massive thing though. Like having someone for morale. In general, in a shit workplace, it's the best.
And
You're
that person's generally terrible at their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the system breaks down without them, right?
Yeah. You make work fun.
I would say I was dead in the middle, just like an average soldier. Like I wasn't a sack of shit, but I wasn't ultra motivated either. But I was like always there, and I guess I was team orientated.
Yes. Okay.
So I was like, what do we need, boys? What do we need? And that I feel nice about that actually.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know that until after the fact. I was just being myself.
I suppose in one way, like you've gone from sort of helping others in the army to now trying to help strangers.
You're making it sound way more wholesome than it is. But
He's a killing machine, and he'll never stop.
I got dragged out when I was at my in my training. So you go through like your basic training, and then you have like your secondary kind of like core training. So I was an infantry soldier, so I went to the School of Infantry, and I used to do impersonations of everyone, right? So like our sergeant, like he was kind of, what was he? He's Bosnian or something. He had this real funny voice. He just go like, "Radio, you cunts," and he just had this funny thing. And I would always behind closed doors, like fucking impersonate him, and it did pretty well. And then it leaked, like some motherfucker leaked it that
Oh,
like
really?
I had this really like shit hot impersonation of him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was just like, righty. So we were just all formed up one day, and he's like, Private Goundrey, and I was just like, oh no. And he's like, apparently you do like the best impersonation of me. And I was like, it's all right. And he's like, well, come on then. And I was like, you know, in fairness, I should have at that point said like, oh nah, like I'm sorry, like this isn't my
The
spot.
comedian in you.
But I went, gig's a gig.
Yeah.
And so I had like, 60 people formed up, and he was trying to embarrass me to be like, oh, I'm not going to do it. But instead I just kind of took it and like started marching them around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was like, I'm not going to lie to you. I've done some good gigs in my time. I've done some bad gigs in my time. And this was crushing. This was like people were like pissing themselves, being like, I can't believe this is happening. And it crushed so much that the other he was the sergeant, and the other corporals that were there that were under him but above us were losing it too, that I got away with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like,
And I was like, oh, cool. Like, and then we had and when you graduate or march out or whatever it's called, everyone gets on the piss together.
yeah.
And he was like kind of grabbing me, being like on the shoulder after a few beers, being like, that was actually pretty funny. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. This is something. And that's what I did throughout. I was always getting into trouble in the army for gobbing off
Yeah.
in the backgrounds. Never to anyone's face, just from the back of the crowd,
Maybe
like a real
cracking
coward.
joke. Yeah. Nice. That's what you wouldn't need in the army.
Like a real coward.
Yeah. So I should say, how long were you in the army for?
7 years.
It's a long time.
18 years of age to 25.
First full-time job?
Yeah, well, I mean, I worked at McDonald's prior to that. And
Yep, that
different.
would've-
Bit different.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I loved working at
Both
McDonald's.
serving.
Mate, I had my first girlfriend in McDonald's. I had a girlfriend. It was the best. Met her. She went to a different school. We both had braces. We went and saw Final Destination 3.
Really?
Hooked up for like 3 hours. Got a rash.
I thought you were going to say your braces got stuck together. When you
No, I was always terrified of that. It was like 2 braces on braces, man.
Yeah.
It's like the Industrial Revolution. It's just fucking, it's just crazy. And then straight in as a young guy. And look, I didn't join by like, I want to do something good.
Yeah. It was.
I think that's a common misconception. Like I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I was living in WA. WA was, pretty different than what it is now. And there wasn't much to do. My friends were off getting apprenticeships, plumbers, electricians. Joke's on me. They're all rich now, but
Yeah, especially in WA.
and I just didn't. I didn't want to do that. I couldn't see myself doing that in my life. You kind of dream sometimes out in life, just like what you want to be.
Mine was a plumber.
We should have swapped spots. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I started a plumbing apprenticeship.
Was it shit?
Yeah, it sucked. It was a plumbing apprenticeship. Yeah. I don't envy any of my friends who are now rich, but it's just like, your life sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say that to their face.
I was like, I can't do this. I mean, I didn't know about comedy. I didn't know about being creative. I didn't even understand that was a path you could do. I went to like a pretty run-of-the-mill sort of poor school. Like we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. We didn't, like our opportunities were fine. Not many people from our school went and did much.
Yeah.
But I saw the military, and I just saw this portal to a world where I could, when you play like card games, and they're like, if you've got shit cards, you can just throw them in and get some new cards.
Yeah.
But that's your turn.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do that with my life. I was like, if I sign this line, I'm just a different person. And
suckered you in.
Yeah, and I was going to be like, it might be terrible, and I will
By
have to
yourself?
stay there for a bit. Hey?
Like no other friends at all signed? It
Nah.
was just you?
No, my friends were off doing what they wanted to do, and I was working at McDonald's like 4 days a week. And I was like, I can't be a manager.
Films, though.
I can't do this. I'm not ashamed to say this, but I've dreamed of big things, and I still do.
Yeah.
And when I was 18, without the lens of maturity, like I was like, I need to go do something with my life. I want to be amazing.
Yep.
And I just saw this opportunity to go, well, we've got a new start here. I'm just going to start again. And that's all I did it for. I signed up, and I was on a plane and a bus, and they shaved my hair, and I'm like, well, I'm a fucking new dude now.
Yeah.
Just crack on, And I loved it. It set me up for life.
But so you sign up, and then you go. Where was the bus or the plane to?
Well, I got on a plane to Melbourne from Western Australia. I still remember I got off the plane, and there's like an army guy there. Like don't see many army dudes
Yeah, no, not at all.
before you join the army.
You just don't see him really in Australia.
No,
For
they're
our
not
culture
around.
To be like trying to get free
Discounts.
somewhere.
And then I walked off the plane, and also I had a mullet. And it was
shit.
blonde because like I had brown hair, but I had dyed the back of it blonde because I was 18.
This is a fucking movie.
Yeah.
This
So
is
I
some
get off
rat bag.
I get off the plane, and I'm like, I'm 40 in a few years, and I still, not to brag, but I look a bit younger.
Yeah, you look.
Dude, when I was 18, I would look like a fetus.
Yeah.
Like I was like how many months are you?
Yeah.
And this dude was there, like this sergeant, to like pick all the stragglers up from the plane, and I just walked up to him and I go, "G'day, mate." Just threw my hand out there, and he just looked at my palm and just said, "I'm not your mate."
Oh, really?
And I was like, "Ooh, I think I fucked up here. This isn't going to be as cool as I thought it was." And then boom, on a bus to Wagga Wagga basic training, and that was so funny. The first 24 to 48 hours is amazing because like everyone's just so stunned.
It's like going in my mind. It's like going to prison.
It's similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty similar rules, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like except you won't get stabbed.
Yeah,
Maybe
just
like,
shot.
Just you might get raped.
Yeah. That's the only difference.
Yeah, and it's just like everyone's there, and like you essentially get off this bus, and there's just people just start screaming at you. And it's when you're a kid, especially growing up, I feel like in a country where we don't our upbringing was all right.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And then you start getting yelled at. You're like, what the fuck is this? And some people have different reactions when they first, they're first on that line. They're standing still to attention, and people are just an inch away from their face. Like everyone's got like a different point before you get broken, I guess, for lack of a better term. You don't know how to deal with it. And there was like 3 dudes that were just like 5 people down from me that were just like laughing at these instructors. They're like, these surfy dudes from Coffs Harbour, man. And I was just like, what the fuck? These guys are idiots.
Yeah.
And they just went, all right, cool. There's 4 of them just ganged up on these 3 dudes until they were just pummeled into like, one of them cried. It was so funny.
So they're just yelling at you.
Yeah, and they took turns. Like what I thought was always impressive is that like they would like cycle through. So one would yell at him until he gets tired, and then a fresh person would come in behind them. Like playing rugby, it's like, all right, boom, it goes down, then fresh one comes in, you got to break through the line. And then by the 4th person, like the other ones that are waiting behind, like, oh no, I'm going to say this because I think it's going to be funny. And like
Are they saying jokes?
Yeah, definitely. They're just humans, right?
You.
They're just human beings that are just, they've just got a job, right?
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they were the coolest guys when, rocking off the bus. They had a swagger about them. One of them was crying. It was sick.
Does that go away forever? Is everyone like, remember when you cried at fucking...
Yeah, true that, actually. That's, yeah, because they were trying to like be big man about him. And there was like these 2 factions where like there were like the keen people that wanted to do like the nerds, like army nerds are like, come on guys, let's get it all done. Yeah, and then there was the sick cunts, which are like, let's have a good time while we're doing it. And the nerds would always be like, yeah, well at least I didn't cry on the open.
Yeah,
like, fuck.
I knew that was gonna happen.
But I was smart about it. I was like, yeah, we're just gonna keep this, which it doesn't help when you got a blonde mullet.
Yeah, that's what, like they cut that off, didn't they?
Yeah, but they leave it for like, they don't shave your head immediately. I think it's like 2 days later. And the first morning you wake up, you've been yelled at all night, and then you go to sleep, but they just don't tell you when you're going to wake up, and then they just come in yelling at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And everyone's just standing in this like hallway with the worst bed hair. And it's like disheveled, like what? Like, half of these guys have been sleeping until 11.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, we got to do some work. Like this is too much, It's just insanity. And it's so fun. It's so funny.
You signed up for this, you know.
Oh, like a week in, I was like, what is this? It's like,
is there a period to be like, not for me, bye?
I can't remember. Maybe, but they don't let you.
Yeah.
As in like you can get out. But they got to like, there's a format. You got to go see some psychs and stuff. And
so you just have to be like fucking turn up the crazy.
Yeah, one dude in our basic training platoon, like he was caught talking to a bayonet.
Oh,
So he was like, at night, he was like, soon, like stroking
really?
it. Yeah, he got kicked out pretty quick.
he's either a genius or a psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, because all these other guys are like, oh, I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm sad and I need to go home. He's like, no, I'm going to talk to a knife.
Yeah. Mate, pretty-
So,
that's-
and it's just insane, right? The whole thing is just so far away from anything I'd ever done before.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing close to it, I imagine.
I can't think of anything. Maybe just a terrible childhood.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, I didn't have one of those. So I was like...
That's why I could never join the army. I've just never had someone yelling at my face. My brain would be like, "What are we doing here?"
it's not nice.
No, it's not. Like
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
That's the main thing about it. And you don't get... I mean, when you live a nice life like we do, you're not intimidated a lot.
no.
In fact, we probably avoid it.
Yeah,
Take the path of least resistance
For sure.
for everything in life. Even having tough conversations with people
Yeah,
is generally avoidable. Like, I still do that to this day. I'm like, I'm not having that conversation. I'll just
Yeah.
fucking leave it alone. It'll go away.
I'll just marry her.
Yeah, sick. And it's yeah. So it's confrontation's good, but it's
But you can get too confrontational. you know
fucking
what I
oath you can.
mean? Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's probably jumping ahead way too far. But
Let's skip these time. Let's do timeline it around like Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan film.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
just do it. Yeah.
so when you finish with the army, we're at first day here. Now we've jumped to 7 years in. Are you? Well, 7 years. You're a child going in.
Yeah.
And then you're 25 leaving.
Yeah, I matured with it,
Yeah.
which is
Your friends and family seeing you on your days off, if you have days off, and they're like, "You've changed," or are you just like,
yeah,
"Oh,
totally.
yeah."
I mean, I remember that first time I came home. So I guess I went through both of my training periods, and then essentially I came home for the first time Christmas break, 8 months in.
Yeah.
So I'd gone through the training. My body's changed, my mind's changed, my hair's changed.
And you look less like a fetus.
Look, well, I got to shave every day, so
Yeah,
my
yeah.
bum fluff is gone. So I look like a balder fetus. And yeah, like everything's about you. Like I was fitter.
Yeah.
You know.
You do weights and all that type of stuff in the
You
army,
just
yeah.
fucking run around. Like you just lose weight.
Yep.
You just trim up, especially when you're young. Like that shit happens immediately. Like
Yeah.
now we're my age, I gotta like fucking
Vitamins.
struggle. Like it's difficult when you get old to do anything. But so immediately I'm back, and then the people like my friends, for example, like hadn't changed.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, true. They're still 25. You're 25, yeah?
I was 25. I was when I first came back, or when I first came back to Western Australia at 18 from training. I was different, but at 25, I'd changed so much from everyone.
Yeah.
Because it just compounds over time, right? And when you always think that other people have changed,
Yeah.
but most of the time it's you're the one that's changing, or you're both changing and it's going different directions.
Yeah.
You're interested in different things. All of a sudden, you've got weird knowledge about like calibers.
Yeah. Just referring to weird
You're like
things.
inches. That's like 0.56
Yeah.
of a caliber. Like it's just you're just saying stuff that no one really cares.
No.
You've got an interest in geopolitics.
But that's the thing about the army with a lot of that stuff is just no one really cares about it outside of the army.
Nah, why would
You know
they?
what I mean? Like you're talking about guns or this or that or whatever it might be.
China. You talk about
Yeah,
China
yeah.
heaps.
I mean, we'll start talking about them a bit more. but
Yeah, I love China. Just one of
Yeah.
my favorite topics.
When you're getting sent back to the army. Is that a thing? Like you because you've been trained, they're like, here's an asset. There's a certain amount of time that you're in the army.
Oh, dude, shit's got to go south for them to call me up. You know what I mean?
Okay,
They got. I think we're at white flag before we get to me.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? We're like, that's okay. We got this.
So they're
We got
probably
this comedian.
Probably calling me up as well if that's the.
Mate, we're in it together. You know, I'll be getting called up. They're like, dude, we need
Maybe
some.
I'll trim up finally.
we need. If they call me up, they're like, dude, we need some morale because we are
Yeah.
fucking struggling.
Come to your relief.
I think, I got out 2012. I think there's like a 5-year period
Okay, sick.
that you can be like, you have to come back.
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah, it's got to be nasty for
yeah.
to get through the normal soldiers,
Yeah, we've got through all
the reserves.
and then we've got the
'Cause that-
replacements.
They literally have
Oh
replacements.
yeah, reserves.
They
yeah,
have
fuck. Yeah.
50,000 of them.
Yeah, that's.
And then there's like eligible male population,
Yes, yeah,
which
yeah.
I fall into the top category of because I had prior military service.
And then I'm like 3 down from that, whatever the next one is.
They
like,
get to you.
they're like people in wheelchairs, and then this fucking guy. I'm like, I guess I'll go.
Fine. How much is the pay?
Yeah. Just don't yell at me.
Yeah, I don't want to be yelled at. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fuck.
But it's the whole. But it's a great experience. I'm really happy that I went into the military for the rest of my life because
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah.
it gave me. I mean, let's take the throwing grenades away. Let's take the shooting away. Let's take the marching away. Let's take all of the skills away. But it's just like the mindset that got to stay with me.
Yep.
Was incredible. The greatest thing I ever got from the military was I saw 1,000 people on 1,000 occasions say, I can't do something, and then they did it.
Okay.
And I was like, it got into me enough to be like, with the right people around you and the right mindset of like, we just got to get to the end of this line, you can achieve most things.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not like saying I want to be an astronaut. I can just become an astronaut. It's like taking your day and just being like, I don't want to do this today, but it's like, I can just do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Camera's stopped.
No, I just got a full memory card.
Oh, well, we can easily pause.
You want to pause?
And we're back.
Wait.
You just killed a man in cold blood. No.
Oh, yeah. Man?
yeah.
Well, I think it was.
Yeah.
Those burkas, I don't know what's underneath.
No, I think you were saying you were set up for the rest of your life from the army.
Yeah, 100%.
People- yeah,
100% because it's, you know, the discipline was nice.
Yes.
It was, you know, you got to do a lot of things in the army when you don't want to. You know?
This sounds like it's more prisony now.
Nah, it's like when it's cold
Okay.
and it's wet and your bed's nice.
Yes.
And just all that stupid stuff that like motivation people talk about. And you go, like if I didn't have to, I just would have stayed and been comfortable.
Yep.
But instead you just put your boots on and put your wet clothes on and then you're off again. And then you're just achieving other things that you just, when you first woke up and you're like, shit, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And
Once
then you are.
Yeah, you're doing it.
You're just doing it.
Yeah.
And
I do admire people. I know this is off topic for a second though, but I admire people who have been fit, like physically fit their entire lives.
Fuck those people.
Yeah,
That hasn't been me.
Clearly,
I've fluctuated.
I've rebelled against it.
Dude, I've fluctuated over that shit my entire life. I've been
Yeah.
unfit and fit and unfit and fit.
But that's like to keep that like I got to do it to do. It's not the be all end all, but I do still admire people that have been like, yeah,
It's incredible.
I kept up a good routine, blah 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 blah.
How hard it
It's
is to be healthy.
Yeah, it's so easy to be
So
fat.
hard. Because how good is everything?
Yeah, it's great.
How good is having everything all the time whenever you want it?
Hey, I just had 2 bar me's before you came.
2?
Yeah.
Fuck, I love banh mi's.
They're very tasty. You get sponsored by whoever makes those fucking things.
Yeah.
But as I'm trying to do a plug, like, come on, sponsor the fat man. No, sorry. Back to what you were saying. So the things that in the army, one of the biggest things was always like, you can succeed. You can get through it. You don't want to do it, but you push through.
Yeah, and by the people around you too, you know, and it's okay to fail.
Yep.
In fact, it's necessary. You know, that's what I would have found it a lot harder to be a comedian if I hadn't have been in the military.
Yeah.
Because of comedy is a failure-based activity.
Yes.
Right? So
sure.
you need to fail. In fact, even when you're doing well, the comedian will walk away after doing 10 really great minutes and only think about the one where they were trying that new thing for them.
Yeah.
And it's only in failure, and that's why it keeps us humble. That's why a rock star will eventually, like, die in a hotel room with, like, a belt around their neck wanking. Because, like, they're just getting so much success and endorphins in there. Whereas the comedian is always humbled by their own failure. We are, like, chained to our own craft.
I mean, a lot of them have died from just normal drug overdoses.
Suicide.
A
A lot of them just swallowed their spew.
Yeah.
It's the comedian is
gentleman.
the comedian is chained to their craft, right? and
Yes.
it's a failure based. And I learned early on in the army that like it's hard, things are hard, right? And I'm really grateful for that 7 years I spent in the military now as someone who's trying to forge forward in a creative pursuit.
Yeah.
And really, they don't have anything to do with each other on paper.
Yes.
But I see so many overlaps that I'm really happy that I had that time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like obviously I've never been in the army, but what you're saying sort of does make sense.
Because you know how hard
Yeah.
comedy is.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's fucking the hardest
Some
thing ever,
people
man.
just don't want to fucking laugh.
It's like, and it's, you know, like obviously doing the craft of comedy, I have 5 minutes and I need to get laughs and all of that sort of technical stuff. But the emotional anguish of pursuing something that doesn't have a path
Well, that's the hardest thing.
is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the army was easy compared to that.
Yeah, army.
They told you what to do,
it
X,
is
Y, and Z.
structure. Yeah.
The comedy doesn't have a mission plan.
No.
It doesn't have. It doesn't even have any outcomes. There's not even any point where you go, if we do this, I've succeeded.
Yeah, there's not.
It's just a
yeah.
continuous thing, and it's like I'm really grateful for the military to help me with that persistence, because I've really needed it in that time of darkness, getting through comedy. Of like, I mean, it's been the most amazing thing I've ever done, and I've loved it. But it's just,
Is this comedy?
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so hard, and it's. I'm glad that I had some form of metric to be like, okay, these run of gigs are really difficult at the moment, and I don't really know what I'm doing. But I remember that time I slept in that puddle after being awake for 2 days,
Yeah.
and I remember back then thinking, I can't do this any longer.
Yes.
And then I just did it,
yeah.
and it's
yeah.
okay to sometimes to have, a metric of pain. You know,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I suppose because got back into comedy in Melbourne, and as we were discussing, there's no real path. You just jump around.
So you got to make your own.
Yeah.
Definitely got to I mean, I can get into that for hours, but
We'll get into that.
yeah, it's
A bit
just
further down.
it's I mean, you got to be to be anything in life, to be someone who's great,
Yes.
which is someone I'd like to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm miles away from being great at the moment, but I would like, by the time my life is finished, I'd like to be great.
Yeah.
At something.
Yes.
Anyone who's great just has to eat a lot of dick sandwiches or whatever it is.
Yes.
You know, everyone wants to be on Everest, but you got to like climbing. Like it is.
Yeah, true. I thought
And
about that.
having that time in the military, I mean, I guess I ate my dick sandwiches early
Yeah. as a
and
kid.
often and big,
Yeah.
veiny,
Yeah.
no bread, just dicks
Yeah.
actually. And
Bosnian one.
and I'm thankful for that now.
Yeah. But like to go back into the actual like day-to-day life of the army, what is a snapshot of let's say 18-year-old, you've finished your basic training, all that type of shit, where they actively try and break you to be like, you're now ours.
Yeah.
Fucker.
It's kind of a common misconception that it's always like that basic training time.
Yeah.
But it's like you finish that and then it's like, okay, cool, you're in now. Now you're in the army.
Yeah. So it's like your initiation.
Exactly. And then you go into this other weird structure where you're in an active unit where there's like a whole bunch of people. Like, you know, I come in, I'm new.
Yep.
I'm a new person. So then I need to learn from the people that are in my own rank who are senior.
Ah.
And then they're going to the next level, right? So it's kind of like an army is an organism. Like I feel like, you know, if you go from the military now back into its formation, I'm going to say it was around the time of Federation, there's always been people in that have giving advice to the people that are coming through to the next thing, right?
Yep.
It's been unbroken
Yep.
in that time. And that's kind of like, I guess, how the culture works and the sort of like, we call it, I guess, esprit de corps, which is kind of like the way a military thinks.
Okay.
And the way it is, okay?
Yeah.
And morale works that way too, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's a living organism through an organization that is unbroken.
Yeah.
That's why you see some of these old school militaries, like especially like the British Army, for example.
Yep.
If you look at that path, that goes back a long way.
Yeah.
A long Napoleon.
Yeah.
Keep going. You know, like they have same units that have like passed on.
Yeah.
People have come in and out, and it's just kind of morphed as
Yes.
opposed to being trained. And where was I going with that? So you're a part of that now. So you're a new person in an unbroken line of people. And then eventually you spend some time in there. Yeah, you're training, you're doing exercises or you're cleaning. It's very different every single day.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
But then eventually, before you know it, there's just like a new group of people come in.
Yeah.
And then you're not the new guy anymore.
Oh, it's fucking prison.
Yeah.
It's all I'm hearing is you get paid to go to prison.
And then some new guy will be like, excuse me, do you know where like the towels are? And we're like, bring your own fucking towel,
Yeah.
cunt. Like it's just
Yeah, get a towel.
yeah. And then like you get this
Here's
like
a dick
weird
sandwich.
you get this weird inflated sort of like ego. You're like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, hang on, like 18 months I was that guy.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
so weird to do the full circle.
yeah, and then you go up in rank. You try like you learn things, and you know, but like also, I'm not 18 any longer.
Yeah, true.
I've now seen some things. I've lived. I've done paperwork. I've got speeding fines. Like just life goes on. It just like marinates you.
Yeah.
But you're doing that
that's
within an organization that's trained to like, you know, if things need to happen, you need to like kill people.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah, but it's like
Did you go overseas?
I went to East Timor 2007
Yep.
for 8 months.
Oh.
Operation Astute, peacekeeping operation.
So-
I think I would have been 20 years of age.
Are you actively, like, is that an active war zone, I assume?
No.
Or
So
it's
we
just
were
peacekeeping.
peacekeeping. There was some action that happened while we were there. I mean, like, I think the president got shot when we were there. There was like a few grenades got thrown over some compound walls. There were gangs were a big problem in Timor at the time.
Really?
Some patrols of our group got shot at with some stuff and
Yeah.
weird blow dart situation. But it was mainly we were looking after the general population and checking in. We were heavily involved in intelligence grabbing that we could then give to like higher up that would then give it to like the police force and the military that we were kind of helping to train. It was all very babysittery, but
Yeah, but you're 20.
yeah, we're 20.
Yeah.
And we're just
like, walking around with guns and being like...
loaded guns, man. And we're just fucking about too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one ever wants to talk about this, but you just fuck around heaps. Because everyone is always protective about the military's like image.
Are you allowed to talk about, like...
I can talk about whatever I want.
No, but when you were in the army, are you allowed to talk about stuff?
I think about this a lot
non-disclosure?
because I have a TikTok channel that I essentially tell funny army stories about. I always joke and I put in the comments sometimes. I always say, by the way, for the guy from ASIO that has to watch all my videos, just remember this. We'll just all no one got hurt.
Yeah.
And you know,
It's
like
not real.
like we used to get drunk and stuff, and we were supposed to be working. Like we were all the time. Like we would because we were there for months on end. We used to do like fake patrols sometimes. So we would like just tell our bosses we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we just would go to a beach and just get hammered. We found a beach that no one had ever seen. Like we had to cut our way into it. Like I don't think any white person hadn't seen it. I'm not sure if the locals had even knew it was there. It was fucking miles away from civilization. And we just sat in shorts and just got fucking drunk as. Some of us got stoned. Because we found weed. We just patrolled through a weed field. And we're like, we're going to fucking do this. You know what I mean? We'd pay kids to fight each other and stuff. Like, this is mental, you know? And like, sure.
Oh, the blackmail he's got coming for me.
And just for the record, if anyone watches this and says, I'm going to bring this up, then I'm just going to deny the whole fucking thing. And there's no evidence. And
they're jokes and he's a comedian.
yeah, and I'll make $1 million suing you for defamation, motherfucker. Because this is all funny. These are just jokes.
So about these kid fights.
They're cheap too, because the labor. Yeah. You know, there's just heaps of.
Dana White of East Timor.
We're doing a lot of things. We're doing a lot of good things.
Yeah. And
But-
sometimes you got to dabble in the bad shit too.
Oh, heaps, man. Yeah.
You can't always do good.
You can't always do good. Like you gotta have a good time. Good clean fun too.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like just sometimes you just got to get sometimes you got to let off some steam. And you need to do that in a way. But then like heaps of people got caught doing that as well. And they just get
You
but
don't
we
feel
knew
bad
that
what happened. If you got caught doing
you get
anything.
demoted, you get sent home. I mean the financial ramifications could be huge because like if you get sent home from a trip where you're earning $2,000-3,000 a week tax free, and you get sent home 4 months prior, Like, just do the math. That's how much you lose, right?
Yeah, $10 billion. I'm not good at math.
Not
Yeah.
not to mention that you're probably gonna get put into like army jail for like a couple of weeks.
Oh. Okay.
So we knew that was gonna happen, and we did it anyway
Yeah.
because we wanted to have a good time, and no one got hurt. And yeah, I always think of that sometimes, like in the world wars, like a lot of shit was going on, right? So I don't know if you've ever heard of the Battle of Wazir. But the Battle of Wazir was actually in Cairo. So, like, a few weeks before they went to Gallipoli.
Yeah.
You can't put too many soldiers in one spot
'Cause
for
they
too
just
long.
cause
They go
havoc.
fucking mental, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you have, like, all of these Australians, all of these New Zealanders, all of these British people in Egypt. They're like, they don't know when they're going to the battle.
Yeah.
They're like, when are we going? And they're like, no one knows, right? It's secret.
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, what do we do in our free time? They're like, well, we just go and we just root hookers and shit, right? We just get pissed and we root the Cairo hookers. That's what everyone does.
Nice.
And then they were trying to curb the hooker routing because too many people were getting STDs. And it was taking them out of action. So they put this price on the whole place. So they're like, well, you got to put the price of the hookers up.
Oh, okay.
And it will like price these dudes out of the market. And all of the soldiers just went, fuck this, and rioted. Like, I think 3 people died. And they
From
it's called
from STDs.
from the riots. Like the
Yeah.
military police had to shoot soldiers,
really?
right? And then they just dodged up the death certificates so that some of the people that died in the riots, it was just before the Gallipoli landings, and then they just said, "Oh yeah, no, they died on the first day." So there's a whole bunch of people now with their granddad's great grandfather's photo being like, he died he was the opening of the Gallipoli campaign, and he was just there with his pants around his ankles, just swinging a chain, be like, you fucking dogs. And it's like, that's what soldiers are like, right? That's what, like, throughout the ages, like they're all the same, right? There's another bunch of Australians were on their way to the Western Front. They were on a train going there. The train just stopped. You know, trains just do. They do that now, let alone in 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were just like, they were near this village, and they were like, looked at their clocks. They're like, what the fucking? Let's go have a beer. And they just like, whoop, just like hopped off, had a beer, a couple of prostitutes. One of them met like their wife that they were going to marry later. Then they're like, hang on, one of them's leaving. They're like, we're going to get back on the train, but if I ever see you again, I'm going to marry you.
Yeah.
And he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
And then he's like, all right, bye. And he's like, they got back to the train, got there, half of them died. Like, that's like, soldiers are just crazy, right?
I suppose sometimes
It's a big footy trip with guns.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You have to live like it's gonna be your last trip with the boys.
Right, because it
You're
is.
like, we're going back to our wives and kids. No one talk about the fucking the brothel war of whatever this fucking year was.
Well, you take it back to like, all the way back to like medieval times, right? You're like, right, boys, what are we doing? Jerusalem? They're like, yeah. You got to talk to your missus. They're like, when do you think you'll be home? They're like, I got no idea.
Yeah.
7, 8 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, have a good time. And do you know what used to happen back in the day when you would when you'd win a battle? You'd sack the city, right?
Yeah.
You know what happens on a city sacking? Drinking, pillaging,
I was gonna say Vikings.
heaps of rape.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, even like what religion you are. Like, people would win a battle and just go mental. They would just like
Well, I
trash
suppose
the joint, right?
You're now the fucking victors, aren't you?
Right.
Like all your best soldiers are dead.
There would have been
Yeah,
a lot of
brutal.
stuff getting out of hand there. Like, you would have been on the booze, right? And then there would have been a lot of people sheepish in the morning, being like, dude, you were fucking crazy last night. You put like 3 heads on a spike.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
after
true,
you know, after you have an orgasm, you have that clarity.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, you'd come, and then you're like, oh my God, it's half a body.
Yeah. Not again.
And then they have to go home to their wife, and she's like, 8 years later, she's like, did you rape those people? I heard they all got raped. And you're like, no, I just went to had a
Got
few
out of hand.
had a few beers and went to bed early.
Yeah.
We had golf the next day. So, soldiers, what I'm trying to get at,
We started so like straight on track, and now
what
it's
I'm
like-
trying to get at is boys will be boys. No, what I'm trying to get at is all soldiers are like similar.
Oh, it's just. I think it's just men.
It's men.
Yeah.
Look, now that you've said that, I
Yeah.
think it's men. But
You don't have to like put them in any situation. Just be like, yeah, the same shit seems to happen. It's just like,
young men and testosterone,
yeah,
are a
trying to
hard
outdo
mix.
each other.
right?
As you said, you made a good point. Footy trip. it is like,
Huge footy trip.
you know, there's challenges amongst the boys to be like, who can do this, who can do that, fucking.
We would go on an exercise to like another city. They'll be like, you've got 2 days off in Bundaberg.
Yeah.
Fucking Bundaberg got hit hard. Like Bundaberg was like, we haven't had this much damage since the last floods. Like it is hectic, you know. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just like the boys. And then sometimes in those moments, that's kind of the only time you might have a D&M.
Okay.
Like you're so manly all the time.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But then you're getting on
Couple of
the piss. You're on a beach in East Timor. You know, you've been there for 5 months. You put all your feelings into one little fucking sock inside your stomach.
Yeah.
And then you really just go, it's been good, mate, actually. I wouldn't have done it with a better bunch of lads.
Had the exact same conversation.
Yeah.
Not in East Timor.
And that just prolongs the pain for a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you know, of being a human man, you know?
You get that, you put a little bit out, and then you're just like, all right, let's retreat the rest.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years, I'll spill out some more.
Yeah, there's going to
That'll probably be the night that I get married.
Yeah. And then that's just the way it is. I don't think it's going to get any different. I mean, it'll be a shame when robots take the soldiers' jobs. That'll be, I don't know.
I've seen those films. It doesn't end well.
No, because they don't talk about their feelings.
No. Well, and they don't
Like we do.
And they don't do sacking.
They don't.
Yeah.
Look, it's a controversial opinion, but I think sacking has done more good than it has done harm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is probably controversial, I'd say.
I think I feel sorry for the time when robots take the soldiers' jobs, because like in 100 years Anzac Day might just be robots. You know, like you'll see a drone going down the street and it'll be missing one propeller, and it'll be like,
I served.
yeah, it'll get all right. It'll be getting all racist and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it'll be the one day of the year it can be racist.
Will there be an RSL?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Robot Service League.
Yeah. Damn it, set up for it.
Definitely. And there'll be a whole bunch of robots in there that are like outdated and stuff, being like, well, back in my day, you know, like they would be racist terms. They would have fought like German robots or something, you know, and they'll call them derogatory terms. So like, anyway, so I was fighting this BMW, and they're like, we can't call them that anymore.
This kraut bot came near me.
Robots with like PTSD and stuff, like yelling at their missus, being like, why aren't you home vacuuming? She's like, I am the vacuum.
Yeah.
I feel so.
You're never gonna work anymore.
Yeah. So we've digressed from how I felt in the military, but
You've gone from like army man to comedian.
because that's what. Yeah.
We've done the full. He's reverted.
Because I find it funny.
Yeah. I think that's the main.
And because I find it funny when a lot of people ask me that, they say to me, "Thank you for your service,"
And you're like,
and I go,
I made kids fight.
"You don't know half of it, bro. You don't know the money I wasted."
Yeah, it sounds like you were getting good money. Like that's something I didn't really think you guys.
I
dropped.
haven't. I'm yet to earn as much post-military than I have when I was in the military.
Yeah, and you're a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, in fairness, I did pick terrible jobs after the. Like financially terrible jobs
True.
after the military. I worked in hospitality as a chef.
Yeah.
And then I became a comedian.
Yes.
And then my next job is probably handing out the big issue.
Yeah.
It's just that's the trajectory. But I mean, I don't know if this is a regret, but I joined as an infantry soldier.
Yep.
And then once you leave the military, there's not many skills that go across. Like some of the people that I knew who worked in logistics, for example,
Yep.
then just like walk into like a mining company
Yeah. Okay.
and just get paid buku cash for like doing half the job. You know what I mean? Just moving things around because they get it,
Yeah.
and their skills are sought after.
And they did it for fucking 7 years or whatever.
Yeah, like I would walk into a job interview and just be like, I know where North is.
Cool.
And they're like, this is
Well,
it's-
the mop's in the north wing. Start there.
you boys need an artillery strike. just quietly. So
How do you
I mean,
feel about sacking? What? Don't worry about it. Christmas party. We'll have fun.
yeah. And then you obviously come into like civilian life and you're just a bit of a scumbag because you've been living in a footy trip for 7 years.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you probably normal, even dating and things like that.
You're just a
feel out of
fucking
whack.
piece of shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and you just say the most terrible things like at work. I was really lucky because I became a chef.
Wow, you're in one war zone to the other.
And I walked into a kitchen and I was like, this is easy. I was
Yeah,
like, you
okay.
do what you're told. You wear a uniform. The uniform looks
It's
nice.
structured.
You just follow orders, right?
Mm.
And you just be a scumbag.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this is easy.
This is
Other chefs were surprised. They're like, how are you so good at this so quick? And I'm like, oh, you just do what you're told. You know when
Yeah.
when Forrest Gump joins the army?
yeah.
And they're like, he's like, I just did what I told you to, drill sergeant. And the guy's just like, you're a fucking genius. I was like that.
Forrest Gump for cooking.
Yeah, I was like that in a kitchen. And but if I'd gone into an office, and this is if you want to get kind of like serious about stuff, a lot of veterans obviously struggle afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you go in early, like if I'd gone into an office,
Yep.
and then I just was myself, I would have been in like HR's department, just been like, why did you say pussy 4 times during that thing? And I was like, oh, sorry, I was just trying to have a bit of fun.
I was hanging out with these cunts.
I was like,
I need a different word.
you cunts fucking all uptight about fucking lefties. And then I feel like they can't get employed, or they struggle to get employed, or they get fired. And that's hard. Being fired's hard. Have you ever been fired?
No, I can honestly say that I'm not a great employee. But
What's your worst trait?
I'd say my best trait.
Trait, Middleton. Yeah.
My best trait is playing the game.
Okay.
Like I will, at the first couple of months, I will gauge the
And
situation,
then it's just...
and then I know what I can do to skate by.
Okay.
And if people are slagging off other people, I'll be like, don't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then I just revert to like this. I teeter on the line of like, if I go below it, they're like, he's a bad worker. But if he goes above it, he's a good worker.
Too much work.
And they ask me to do too much shit.
Yeah, it's a
But I
trap.
skate across the line, and they're like,
Yeah.
this guy, he can do the merchandising, but it's not as good as fucking Steph.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's Steph
But he's not
doing-
bad enough to get fired.
Yeah, but yeah, in a pinch, they'll be like, hey, can you lock up tonight? And I'll be like, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I sort of...
That's a really great comedy bit. Just quietly.
You
Like,
reckon?
yeah, the premise of I'm
Toe the line.
not
I
a
should
gr-
say.
I'm not a great employee,
Yeah.
but I'm not good. I'm not bad enough to get fired, but I'm not good enough is put that in the writing wheel.
Yeah, true. I think it's just like, I know...
Because it's super relatable.
I know how lazy I can be without... Like, if you go too lazy, like, slack off, you know, people are like, where's Tait? He's like, oh, he's been upstairs on his phone. It's dumb. But I'll be like, I'll do the exact same thing. Instead of that, I'll just talk to someone for 20 minutes.
Great.
And I'll be a customer. And I'll be like, you're from Germany? Have you fucking seen those robots they have? No.
Fucking BMWs.
Yeah, I just got to change this. I'm just going to pause it. So, yeah, teeter the line is what I was saying.
I mean, it's a good way to be. Does it make you happy though? I mean, because I always pursuit is very healthy. I've
That's something I
always,
lacked,
you know, and I don't know how healthy this is, but I mean, I'm getting a lot out of being a comedian at the moment, for mentally and emotionally, and for my ego, and not in a weird way, saying like, oh, I'm a comedian. Is like,
Yeah,
I mean, you need, I think your ego's pride is very closely tied with your ego.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very proud of myself from what I've achieved doing comedy, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And it makes me less sad, more importantly.
Yeah, it's probably
You know what I mean?
a good one to go.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But
it just sounds better to be like, what makes you less sad instead of saying...
you don't have to be happy sometimes.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
need to be less sad.
Yeah. You don't need to be fully happy.
My
It's
mum-
like a meter.
My mum's got all these funny sayings that like I don't know if they're hers, but I've never don't hear much. But she always like she says these negative things in a positive way.
Oh,
Like she goes, no, money can't make you happy, but no money can make you sad. And I'm like, so what do I do?
yeah.
And
Don't be fucking poor.
she also has another one that says, she says, brown fat's better than white fat, which just means get a tan.
Oh. I had no idea I was like, where is this?
Like she,
Full WA coming out.
yeah, she'd just be on a beach or something, and then I'm like, what are you doing today? She's like, I'm gonna go get some sun. She's like, brown fat's better than white fat, and I'm just like, that's cool.
I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah, she's like,
Unfortunately, on both of those things.
it's like money can't make. I don't think this is hers, but money can't make you happy, but it's better to be sad on a beach.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. What's
Just stuff that I'm like, are you giving me advice, or is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
just like, what is it?
what is it? It's better to cry in a Ferrari. than
That's
it is-
it, yeah. It's but yeah, comedy. Going from the military, I wouldn't go back to the army.
Yeah, that's funnily enough one of my main questions was, would you go back?
No, because I got everything I wanted.
Yeah, you did it. I reckon in a good way. You went in as a young dude who could be molded. If I went into the army now, they'd be like, "We need you to do this," and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Why?"
And I think if I'd stayed, let's say my time again, so if I did, instead of 7, I did 14, then, I still would have been out now for like 4 years, but I would have been, I've seen people who stayed in when they didn't want to.
Yeah. Why do they stay in? The structure? Money?
Money's good. I mean, I think you can get trapped in life. You want to get a mortgage and 4 kids.
Yeah.
And you want a car and stuff, and then you don't own any of that stuff. The bank does.
Yeah, okay.
That traps you. You want your kids to have a good education, and that costs you X amount of dollars. Like, you're trapped.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
it. That's a trap.
Yeah.
You don't choose that, but it just kind of creeps on you.
Yeah, very common.
But it's super common, right? And I think that's why people have midlife crises, because they get trapped, and then they get to a point where they go, if I don't do something right now, I'm too old. And they knee jerk it.
Yeah, I talk
Drive
to
a
the young
Ferrari and shit.
Yeah, crying that Ferrari. But I talk to the young guys at work all the time. Like, I'm just in retail at the moment. But I always say to them, like, if you have an inkling to travel, go travel.
Do it
because
immediately.
it's so different from my age here to your age at 23. I turned 33 in fucking 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
That I always say to them, like, your experiences and stuff, you've got nothing holding you back. A few times I've been like, the girlfriend you have now, you're probably not going to marry her, so just fuck her off and then just travel. And they're like, yeah, I might. And I'm like, all right, well, just don't say my name in the story when you're doing it.
100%.
Yeah,
yeah. Just, it's like, there's nothing, I love it. Like, the optimistic teenager has a first girlfriend.
Yeah.
And the bitter old person that's been through 8. And you're like, yeah. You'll be right.
They're all the fuckers.
She might touch your ass, but like, is she really girlfriend material?
Would she let you sack a city?
I never thought sacking the city would be the ultimate callback in this thing.
Name of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what we were talking about, but
we were talking about younger people not doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't stay in.
Midlife crisis, yes.
I'm glad I didn't stay in because I got what I wanted, and then I did something else, and then I did something else after that. And, I've never been as happy or as fulfilled or as proud of myself since I started doing comedy. But if that changes, I feel like I'm, I've lived a life where I'm happy to change again. Like, life's long, man. Like, I'll do 8 more things.
I always say that.
Yeah, fucking reinvent yourself, man.
Way too long. Life is way too long.
It's hell long, man. It's just, and you can just do something else, right? If I just got really passionate about fucking gaming tomorrow, I would just, and I liked streaming, I would just make that happen. Like, you can just you don't have to do the same thing forever.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm very fortunate because I had to do the army and I had to do cooking before I found comedy.
Yes.
Maybe that didn't exist without those 2 other things. So I'm really grateful for that because it's made me happy. I get to do things, like I'm sitting in a lounge room now talking on the internet through data. Like, if you're listening to this now, I'm data.
Yes.
And maybe that didn't exist without me signing that line and changing my life. Like that. Yeah. There's another
wouldn't have met.
There's another path down there that could have been different. I might have been happy there, but I don't know, and I don't care that I didn't find that out. I have no regrets.
Yeah, which is nice. And the thing is, like, we're gonna jump. We're doing a part 2 coming up, but obviously you're doing a job now which you're happy.
Totally happy.
Which is insane.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's I'm content.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Which is really all you want.
Well, when you do something, I'm going to sound a bit wanky here.
We'll edit that out.
I'm going to sound a bit motivationally here. But when you find something that you like doing, it's like free energy.
Yeah.
When you wake up and you don't want to do something, you're very tired. Yes. You're very over it. Yeah. But when you, like yesterday, I was working on some comedy stuff and some content stuff, and I said, I don't have enough time. Like my day just flew,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
pissed off. I was like, geez, I wish it was just going a bit slower, because I was just so in it.
In the zone.
Oh,
yeah.
I loved it. I had such a good day yesterday creating,
Yeah.
and I got pissed off because I was tired. I was like, I'd got to the end of my energy
Yeah.
after like 10 hours. I was like, fuck, damn it.
And now, yeah.
There's
yeah.
always tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's the cool thing. There is.
I
always
guess what
tomorrow.
I'm trying to say is it's okay to keep doing stuff, and it's okay to keep trying things. I'm glad I joined the army. I didn't have to stay forever to make it anything of it. And I
No.
didn't. A lot of people struggle after they leave the military because they're like, I didn't do enough,
Yeah.
or I didn't achieve what I wanted. I didn't have that particular medal, or I didn't have that particular story. I didn't have something I could hang my hat on that was like, this made me happy.
Yeah. Yep.
And you don't fucking need it. Like, for example, when I became a chef, I was really into cooking.
Yep.
And all I wanted to do in my life was to have a restaurant that was in the Good Food Guide. That's all I wanted. I was like, this will make me happy. And then I was a chef for 6 years, and I was running a restaurant, and it got in the Good Food Guide.
Yeah.
And I was happy for like 30 hours, bro. And then I was like, I've got no friends.
So you had such a build up in your head that it's the peak,
Yeah.
and then it was just like I hit the peak.
And then I was like, shit, now
Where the fuck's the rest?
I was like, fuck, we're busy now. Like,
Yeah.
like stuff's hard now. And I, within 6 months, I quit the industry full time, and I pursued being a comedian because that's what I dreamt of in my mind when I was dreaming.
Yeah.
You know, when you're dreaming about who you want to be, you know, when you're driving a car and the song comes on, you're like, fuck, I wish I could play acoustic guitar to my friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, I decided to try that.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I can do this. Like I'd never done comedy. I'd never done stand-up comedy, but I'd thought about it 150 times. And I'd seen the stage, I'd seen the curtains, I'd seen the microphone, I'd seen the crowd, I'd seen the thing, right? And I was like, I need to do that thing because otherwise I'm just pretending.
Yeah.
And I'm just making shit. I'm just someone that thinks they are a comedian.
Yeah,
And I just
which is
decided
lovely.
in that moment when I was unhappy and unfulfilled in a goal that I had achieved, that I was like, fuck it, I'm going to give it a crack.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's,
Like you've had like 3 phases.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love for another one to come. I don't know. I mean, that's why comedy's so exciting. You know, someone might say, hey, have you ever
Just
thought
me.
about doing a TV
Yeah.
show? And then now all of a sudden you're doing a new phase. Or
Yeah, true.
do you want to try this radio thing? And I mean, I think I've got the maturity now to think it through and
Yep.
be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'd rather keep doing this thing that makes me happy. Or I can go, yeah, I think that sounds like a great challenge.
So how old are you?
I'm 36.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fucking 8 billion years of life. Yeah.
Surely, right?
Yeah. Like it's.
But also, I could just die at any moment.
That is a perfect way to end the podcast.
I could literally be sitting here with an illness I don't know about.
Yeah.
And
Or you just have a heart attack and we get it on camera.
or just die on the pod. I mean, everyone's
Yeah.
listening to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just determined to try and just keep living.
Yeah, it's fair.
But like actually living, not just being
Yeah,
alive.
Yeah.
Living.
Yeah, we were talking about the trap before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not.
like you want to be out, like doing your thing that makes you happy or content
Fuck yeah.
or become brown.
Or
fat,
just be
or
like that
is it-
crazy old cunt with heaps of stories.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like how
yeah.
funny is that guy at the pub?
Yeah.
He might not even be rich, but like he's good to be around. And I'd
Yeah.
rather fail and achieve that than succeed at something in life but be sad.
I think memories, if you have memories, that's the main thing.
Have you ever talked to a 70-year-old?
Not lately.
They're
But
fucking boring, right? And like kids think they're idiots.
yeah.
So sooner or later you're going to be a fuckhead to like the next generation. So you might as well live your life while you can, because
Yes.
sooner or later you're dumb.
Yeah. I think you just change. We're always changing.
Totally.
I think that's a great way to finish part 1.
Done.
Just
Giddy up, part
in
2.
case someone, let's say, dies before part 2 comes out. Do you want to plug any of your social media? Whatever.
You should.
Or
I'm
tour?
Jarryd Goundrey on everything. So just give me a follow, and I'll follow you back, because if you're in my life, I'd like to be in yours.
Okay.
And just send us a message. If you say, hey, I listened to this thing and I thought this was interesting,
Yep.
just send me a message. I'll explain it more or not. And like, do you know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
and
Fucking follow him.
Yeah, just give or don't as well.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to this and you go, I don't want to follow that, then fucking don't.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
stop being fake.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just I don't need that. I don't need you if you don't want to follow me.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
hopefully that was somewhat inspiring.
You
to-
just get heaps of people just joining the army. Hate my
This isn't
job.
what I wanted.
I want to make kids fight. Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 49 of the Tait Talks podcast. We're going to come back with part 2 next week. Please tune in. You know where to find it. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already there. Thank you. Goodbye.
To be inspired.